Haldane rolling right along. Time to welcome into the studio Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. Chief Paul, welcome back. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me today.
No, glad to have you on. We got a lot of ground to cover.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to dive right in. And there's no way we start with anything other than talking about pursuits this morning. It's been in the news a lot. In fact, it's been in the news a lot for a lot of the wrong reasons, a lot of the more tragic reasons. But when it comes to pursuits, I understand that overall policies, procedures, and everything are going to be reevaluated in the near future. What goes into that?
Well, a lot. You know, we're part of CLEA. We are an accredited department, so our policies are in alignment with best practices. But a lot. We have a committee that convenes. We look at all of our policies at least annually. Obviously, when we have incidents, we look at it during administrative hearing processes, and we make the appropriate changes. We know that there's legislation that's going to be considered. We're going to be working with the legislators on that process to look at areas of improvement statewide to make pursuits safer for all.
When it comes to procedures, you've got 15 pages worth of procedures posted up on the website, which, by the way, the Baton Rouge Police website, every time you're in here, I learn more and more about some of the things that just information that's available to the general public that I didn't know was there.
It's been there, and we've been saying it from day one. If you want to know about crime, we have a crime dashboard.
That one I know all about.
Yeah. You want to know about our policies about that. I think you'll see that we provide more information, and that's part of our transparency, one of those pillars in 21st century policing, is that we try to be more intentional with pushing information out there to the public.
So when it comes to engaging in a pursuit or initiating a pursuit, the website says any law enforcement officer in a marked, unmarked, or on a police motorcycle may initiate a vehicular pursuit with certain criteria met. They list out the 3 criteria, but the phrasing there says may initiate. Officers don't have to initiate a pursuit if they don't feel like it's going to be safe.
Well, look, and that's part of the policy. You know, officer discretion is important, but officer safety should always be considered in a pursuit. There is nothing will happen to a police officer for terminating a pursuit. Let me be clear. The policy specifically states that a police officer will not be disciplined in any kind of way for terminating a pursuit. But our policy is very detailed. It talks about the supervisor's responsibilities as well as the police officers. And we, in our training and in our policy, always ask our officers to always consider public safety first and officer safety before we continue pursuits.
We've seen a couple of different cases, 3 in particular, one over in Bruley, one here in Baton Rouge, and then the incident, the tragic incident with the helicopter crash as well. How much I don't want to say, it's going to sound crass to say it this way, but how much do individual incidents affect overall policy? I mean, because it feels like this is based off of everything, and while the results of an individual incident might be tragic, do they have an effect on the way everything's done?
Well, yeah. I mean, after every incident, in fact, I believe I have some revisions that was just sent to me from a recent incident, and one of those takeaways, recommendations in the policy, that the police officer is required to give every violation that he sees. That way, a supervisor can make a more informed decision, putting out speeds, policy violations, locations, communicating those violations so that a supervisor has situational awareness. And if that officer is not using that discretion to terminate a pursuit, then a supervisor will. And look, we know our officers doing it. We got a lot of complaints this weekend about drag racing, unfortunately.
Yep.
And I can tell you there was a pursuit. I believe it was a Mustang, I read. And there was a pursuit. The guy didn't comply. And the police officer decided, based on the speeds and the violation, that it was too reckless, and he terminated the pursuit.
I mean, when you talk about the drag racing, and yes, that's garnered a lot of headlines this week, there's an added element there where those drag racers are in cars that are built to get away. I mean, that they're this kind of the MO of the whole thing is they're out there for speed and stunts and all the other things, which would add an element of lack of safety in pursuit.
Well, yeah, I don't think all of the cars that run from us are necessarily built for pursuit. But I think what we have is we have a culture of young folks, and they're not all from here. Look, you look at this weekend, we got reports of the Bluebonnet area, downtown area, St. Philip and South Boulevard, Acadian 3. We responded to all of these. There was a chase that was terminated. We made several arrests. In fact, I think the arrestees were from Lockport, Louisiana, I believe Denham Springs, another one in Livingston Parish, and also someone from Texas. So we know these operations, they go covert. It is communicated on social media. It's more organized. Just like if you remember when there was an issue with a College Drive, we were making arrests weeks and months after that. And the same applies here. Our investigative efforts have not stopped. We do know this is organized, and a lot of those who are coming are not necessarily from the city of Baton Rouge. But we will continue to investigate this one just like we investigated the others to hold those persons who were involved accountable.
We're talking with Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul a little bit about the pursuits or the policies that are going to be under review moving forward, which, by the way, are available on BRPD's website if you wanted to go check them out. We're going to get around to your first quarter stats in a little bit. I got one or two more on this particular topic. Got to talk about the helicopter crash a little bit. You're talking about two pilots that were just, by all accounts, everybody I've talked to, just nothing but stellar. Fantastic men, fantastic officers, fantastic pilots. Is it difficult to sit back and wait for the FAA to get a full report to understand what went down?
Yeah, it is. You know, you don't have all the answers for the family, and there's still questions out there. It's very hard. Look, I want to thank the community for the prayers, for the support, all of our fellow police officers from all around the country, the beautiful homegoing that they had. Look, thanks for the prayers. You know, a lot of emotions, a hard time for the police department. And, you know, even in that emotional state, our police officers still have to serve. Yeah. That's one of the hard jobs of being a police officer. But, yes, it does make it hard when the family don't have all the answers.
It would seem like when talking about pursuits, the helicopter or being airborne would be the more ideal option. You're taking away the danger off the ground, giving an aerial view, managing to continue to track the person you were pursuing. This being just an absolute, it's not the norm for this to end this way. Obviously, will those policies be reviewed as well?
Well, you know, one of the first things we did is terminated any flights at night when there is no air traffic controller. I learned in this process from 12 to 5 a.m. there's no air traffic controller. So I've asked the department to review those policies and to make some recommendations to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. But again, we have to wait for the final report by the federal authorities on what actually happened.
Yeah. Well, that's going to play a lot into it. And the hard part about the terminating flights from midnight to 5, it's when a lot of the crimes happen. I mean, I hear the helicopter up in the air in the overnight hours more often than other hours of the day.
Well, and I do it. And I think that's why, we've expanded our drone program. There's other options. Our calls for services are higher during the evening time and during the daytime when there's more traffic here. So I think we can make those adjustments and continue with the decreases in violent crime that's happening in our city. And we have to make those adjustments. We work in an ever-changing environment, but our police officers have demonstrated that they can make those adjustments and still make arrests on those who are involved in criminal activity.
This might be a dumb question. Do we have another helicopter?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do.
Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul is our guest. Let's talk a little first quarter stats. We are into the fourth month of the year. Where are we at for the beginning of 2023?
Well, some of the things, I'm so proud of the work that the men and women of the Baton Rouge Police Department are doing. First of all, let me thank the community because we have a 41% decrease in stolen guns. What does that mean? I don't think people are leaving as many guns in their cars. They're being more responsible. Look at it this way. Last year, at this time, in the first quarter, we had 155 guns stolen. In 2020, we had 200. In 2021, we had 200. Right now, for the first quarter, that number is 91. That is a 41% decrease from last year and a 50% decrease from year before. On the enforcement side, we've seized over 409 guns in the first quarter, 1,065 felony arrests in the first quarter, 121 juvenile arrests in the first quarter, right around those numbers. Some of the things that we really, really want to that we're proud of. In the past 5 years, 50% decrease in IA complaints, 50% decrease in the past 5 years, 40% decrease in use of force incidents in the past 5 years. Right now, when we look at Part 1 crimes, that's assaults, burglaries, robberies, sexual offenses, theft, vehicle burglary, vehicle thefts. As of April 5th, that's down around 3%, 2.1%. But the areas that we're seeing the largest is homicides. Homicides are down 50%. When we go back over a decade, there's only 2 times, 2 years where we had less amount of homicides than we have right now. So we're seeing these trends. We believe that these strategies are working, that when we look at mid-year numbers, we're going to have some of the lowest homicide rates that we ever had. I mean, a 50% reduction in homicides is huge for our city. Even shooting incidents are down over 25% as well, non-fatal.
Yeah, that's also an important number. I mean, as long as the non-fatals continue to go down, the homicides will go down along with it. I got to ask you about the IA complaints one, though, because you're going through a lot of numbers real fast.
Yeah.
Give me the nature of what are some complaints that come across?
We get so many, you can go online. A lot of our complaints come in online. We have complaints that come in from the community. They're walk-ins. We have complaints that come in from other police officers as well. Unfortunately, we had one of our police officers who was arrested this weekend for a DWI.
I saw that.
That complaint will also go to internal affairs because he was arrested. So there are various ways where complaints come in. But here's the beauty. The beauty is most of our complaints, they either end in counseling, mentoring, training, and in some cases minor discipline, but very, very few of the behaviors lead to termination. So our officers are doing a great job out there, and we're proud of the work that they're doing here in Baton Rouge.
Got a couple of minutes left with Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. We'll close out by talking about where folks can find the public dashboard. But I got to ask you, the legislative session got in yesterday, and there's been a lot of talk about crime from a legislative perspective. Your role as Baton Rouge Police Chief, what can the legislature do to help out? What is tangible from their role over to yours?
Well, looking at areas, I think there's so many laws on the book. It's hard to legislate morality, right? When you see some of the challenges and issues that we're seeing, I know there's legislation that's going to be introduced on pursuits. We can't even keep murderers in jail. So how are we going to keep those who are involved in drag racing for jail? There needs to be a real look at this system, the criminal justice system, where we're not holding individuals accountable for the first violent crime they committed, and they get out of jail, and then they commit another one and another one. If we just hold them accountable for the first one, then maybe there isn't a second or third. So we can just talk about the two. I really think that we have to do a better job of accountability. We arrested more than 4,000 felony arrests last year, and it's sad on how many of them we had already arrested before that for a previous violent crime. We have to do better in holding violent criminals accountable.
For those that want to follow up on all the transparency and where you can see these numbers, where do folks need to go to find it?
Well, you can go to our website, www.brpd.com, and look, I have a copy of our annual report.
Oh, hello.
Please, if you go there, you scroll down, you see our annual report is right next to our public facing dashboard for crime, where we're highlighting our policies, some of our crime fighting strategies, but more importantly, we're highlighting the leaders in this department, highlighting the great work of the men and women of this police department. So please go to our website, download the annual report, and read about the great work that's going on in the police department and why I am so proud to be the chief of police of the men and women here.
He is Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. I always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
7:50.